Thank you for joining us and being a part of this reaction program today. Right now, we are live, and this is your show, guys. Your opportunity to respond to us on what your thoughts are on the recently concluded Prime Minister's press conference. This is your opportunity to chime in. We're going to have a list of panelists here to talk about everything that we saw today, just a little while ago. In fact, they're just closing it off. And while watching the thread and watching the comments, I know that you guys have so much things to say. So this is your opportunity to chime in. So go ahead and share the program right now and let us join the conversation on this event that just took place. It's the 5th annual Prime Minister's press conference, where the Prime Minister field questions from a list of journalists locally in Grenada. And today we had joining the Prime Minister, hosted by Philomena Robinson. We had hosted the Prime Minister. We had Aruna Neptune, Brenda Batiste, Joseph Cador, and Andre Donald. And boy, it was heated in the comment section, because I saw you guys comment, and I know you have a lot of reaction and a lot of things to say. Some of the main topics that was covered today, which people are saying that they expected a lot more, but we're going to get to that. Some of the topics that was fielded today, it was the question of the succession plan for the Prime Minister. In fact, Brenda started an open bat with the question of the Prime Minister and you know, who do he think that could succeed him in the position when he would omit office in say this being his final election. So we're going to talk about that. We also spoke briefly. Also spoke about Aruna spoke about the electric bill and how the prices went up real high, and his reasoning behind that. And while watching it, one of the things that I saw a few people speaking about is the Prime Minister not going in as deep. All right, kind of brushing the surface a little bit. Someone even said to me, Andre Donald, who was one of the reporters there, he seemed as he kind of was set up the Prime Minister to give like a legacy speech or something like that. Some people felt like it was a hand-picked audience of crowd of reporters who basically not really targeted the main issue. But that's your point of view. I want to know what your take on it. Do you think that it was tough enough? Do you think that the agenda item was asked? Do you think that some of the priority questions was asked? And what's your take on what the Prime Minister and how the Prime Minister responded to it? Again, it's your opportunity to chime in. Good night to you, Cecile. Good night to you, Annie. Good night to you. Let me know if you guys are hearing me and seeing me fine on the broadcast. Again, we have a list of broadcasters who's going to be joining us. Calistra Farrier is going to be joining us in a brief while as well. And we have my good friend, Dwight Sampson. Dwight, are you hearing me? All right, not yet. Dwight video is stuck, so we're gonna get back to it, guys. But keep this number handy, right? Keep this number handy. So if you want to call, if you want to call in and give your point of view to the question, again, 718-701-5720. We're taking your reaction of the Prime Minister press conference, the 5th in the series of press conference by the Prime Minister. Again, Philomena Robinson, who hosted the event, Prime Minister Press Secretary. I must also say that Philomena Robinson, she worked at our previous program when it was Time Plus Beats years ago. She was one of the hosts there, so I want to say hi to Philomena Robinson over there. Hey guys, Peter Mitchell, his legacy. Okay, all right, let's see if we can get Sampson back up on the live. Sampson, are you there?
I am here.
Sampson, could you hear me?
But I'm not hearing you.
You're not hearing me? Okay, you're not hearing me? Jump out and come back in. Go back out and come back in. Go back out and come back in. All right. All right, so we're going to get Sampson back up there as soon as he fixes his audio problem there, guys. 718-701-5720. Annie is saying that that was just for laugh. didn't take it seriously. Sherry-Ann saying that she believed that Aruna did a great job. Here's the question that I wanna ask, right? Because by me looking at it, by me just looking at it, Andrew Donald, that we know is a strong supporter of the NNP, right? And one person posed that to me during the press conference. They say, well, why are we talking about cricket? Why are we not talking about the burning issues that's affecting Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique? And it seems like the question as a person that was reacting to it and live reaction was saying that it seemed like what Andrew was somehow doing is just tossing the prime minister questions so the prime minister could state his legacy. And someone else shared the same sentiment. So I want you guys to tell me what your thoughts on that was, or what your thoughts on that is. Did the reporters go deep? I remember even earlier today, Kellan Bob who is a journalist here, excellent journalist, by the way. He made some statement of things that he would like to see. And one of the things that he stated was that reporters go strong and ask open-ended questions to get solid answers about the issues. So was the issues dealt with today? Do you feel like it made you more aware? And also, do you think that the prime minister was clear in his answers? Did you get substance from what he was saying? Did you have a full understanding as to the way forward as a leader? One of the other things that a lot of people said that they was kind of taken aback at this point. I don't know if the prime minister did it privately, but at this point, the reports are that the prime minister never even called Deacon Mitchell and give a formal congratulation on. I mean, he don't have to. Nothing said that he has to do it, but he has been a senior statesman. Reports are that he didn't contact Deacon to express congratulations. I mean, it's politics, but it's that was an observation that was made. Lima Frank said Aruna did a great job. Guys, the phone line's opening now. The phone line's open 718-701-5720. I want you guys to call in. Soon we're going to have Calistra Farrier, who is going to be joining us shortly as well, and Joel Greenidge. He's going to be joining us as well. Let me make connection with those guys so they could jump on the live to give their reaction to it. But in the meantime, guys, your reaction is what we want to hear. 718-701-5720. And share the live as well, guys. Share the live. We're going to do this for 1 hour. We're going to do this for 1 hour. So we get opportunity to chat, to get your questions. Right? 718-701-5720. The reaction to the Prime Minister's press conference that was just recently held in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. No substance at all. This was a comedy show. All right. Jump on. Yeah, jump on the link. Yeah, I'm trying to get all the rest of the panelists on the live, guys. Let me also take this opportunity to thank everyone that's watching over in the UK. I know it's kind of late right now, but you guys stayed up and watched it. Let me see if I could pull in my next guest back, Dwight, in the live. Dwight, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm
Dwight,
hearing
are you hearing me? Dwight, you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, all right, Dwight. So you saw the press conference. You witnessed the whole press conference. You got a opportunity to see it. What's your take on what you saw?
All right. Good afternoon, Junior, and good afternoon to the rest of your viewers, the Ridealong viewers. Junior, I maintain my stance from the last national address that we had. The Prime Minister should call elections, and he should do it now. I was about to go make a cup of coffee because I felt like I needed to wake myself up a little bit there. Honestly, I'm speechless. I am literally out of words as to the level of nonsense that has come forth in this interview. Don't even get me started on the question. Don't even get me started on the answers, the response to some of the questions. And I don't know if the Prime Minister is trying now to make himself a little bit more relatable. All of a sudden, he listens to radio stations or listens to whatever. All of a sudden, he reads his own utility bills. All of a sudden, he's speaking about driving on the road and people in the front of him with uh, waste from vehicles, exhaust, and so on. The tomfoolery. I'm literally out of words. You know, usually on these type of national address or interviews, I'm very vocal, but persons who know me would realize that I wasn't very vocal on this one because I'm literally shocked. And um, I have to say, Junior, this is not what we need at this critical time in our history. My God, single mothers and single fathers are waking up in the morning and not knowing how they're feeding their children. The prime minister is smirking at light bills, going up by almost 100%. What is going on? What is going on? Here is our prime minister that has been in office, political office, for some 36 years, and you cannot drain from anything he says some level of substance. I mean, you cannot compare his intellect, his level of wisdom, to that of probably Mia Motley or any of the other regional prime ministers, Gaston Brown. But this prime minister, in when you look, you compare the experiences to his experience, it far outweighs them. But at least when you hear Mia Motley opens her mouth to speak regionally or internationally, she captures the attention of not just the residents of Barbadians, but she captures the audience of the world. Here is our prime minister with 36 umpteen years under his belt, and he can't even hold your attention for a good 5 minutes.
Right, right.
Moving on.
Joel, what's your first reaction? You got a chance to see the thing. What's your first take on it?
First and foremost, I just want to say a special good evening to your listening audience and viewing audience on social media. And also, I want to say thanks to you, Junior, for waking me up. I actually fell asleep
I realize.
while actually listening to the press conference. I mean, or the
Indeed.
media press conference. I mean, it was frustrating listening to the conference first and foremost. It was embarrassing. It was really a sad day for Grenada. I mean, we had a very critical juncture in our nation's history. So many issues are affecting our people. And just the disposition of the prime minister, I mean, the biggest smile, the smirk. I mean, it was just like taking Grenadians for like, a puppy show. There was nothing substantial coming out from the discussion. Nothing that a young person like myself or any young person who is unemployed or a family who is dealing with poverty or someone who has been in a business that have been impacted by this COVID crisis can look at that um, discussion from the prime minister's standpoint to get a sense of hope that there's a bright light at the end of this tunnel. It was just like a show. As I said, it was Comedy Central, and eventually, I mean, it's the first time I've ever fell asleep while listening to any
Literally.
press
Yeah.
conference. When I got the call from you, I jumped up in my sleep. Like I thought maybe the ride along show was finished. So
Okay.
I mean, it was that bad, Junior. And I mean, there was so much good questions from, especially from Arona. She had some very good questions, and everything was just like a dodging and dancing around, and it was just like, I mean, it was sad, Junior. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm still really trying to catch myself from it
Right.
because
Well, we give you a little chance. We give you a little chance to do
Yeah.
that. We have the host of the Narrative, a popular TV program that airs throughout the platform on WPG 10. Calistra Farrier. Calistra, how are you doing?
I am well, Junior. Thank you for having me on, and good evening to the rest of your panel, and to yourself, and to your very large number of viewers.
Yes, yes, yes. Calistra, everyone was asking, what happened? Why Calistra wasn't on this time? Or how come we didn't see our Calistra? You seem to be the journalist on the ground that posts that asked the hard hitting question. Why were you not there today?
Well, this may have been the softball match, and I feel more comfortable when you know in hardball cricket. The, but the prime minister does, they choose a group of media people for each round. Um, they have never chosen me. I was on a previous one, but not because I was selected, but because someone was out of state and said, "Please, can you fill my slot for me?" So I have never been invited as Calistra Farrier, the journalist. But you know, never mind that I continue to extend invitations to the prime minister to appear on the narrative and to do a one-on-one with me. I would give him the entire hour. He is the prime minister after all. So yeah, but you know, it was broadcasters today. It was radio announcers today. Actually, I noticed the lineup was radio announcers, and I think someone said that they were inviting the radio announcers on for this round. So either way, I would not have been included in such a grouping anyhow. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, what's your take after watching the radio announcers meet the prime minister today? What was your immediate take reaction to it?
Well, I mean, I had a number of issues with the questions, and while I don't like to publicly, you know, make pronouncements on how people ask their questions, because it all depends on what your end game is, what you're planning to get out of the engagement with the subject you're interviewing, right? People sometimes don't understand that you're going after something in particular, which is why you may ask your questions in that way. But I felt that there was a lot of room for follow-up questions that were not, either the time was not available or people didn't notice there was room for follow-up or didn't want to ask follow-up. On the prime minister though, as I was listening to him, a line from, I don't know if you ever seen the play Evita or even the movie that Madonna was in, and there's a song, "Oh what a circus," and there's a line in the song "Oh what a circus" that says she didn't say much, but she said it loud, and that came to mind as the prime minister was speaking. There was nothing, as the prime minister of the nation who's supposed to have an idea of what's happening in every sector and every ministry, and coming to a news conference, he seemed to be very vague on a lot of issues, a lot of things that he needed to be specific about. I mean, the issues of cost of living and the price of fuel and the price of electricity, those conversations have been out in the public for weeks and months now. He understands that his people want to hear something on this. And I'm thinking that we may hear the things that we need to hear from our government on these issues may come in the budget. Maybe he's saving the limelight for his Minister of Finance when the budget is presented shortly. But there were no policy statements and no decisions on, you know, a lot of things. You know, and one of the things that struck me is he said, if there's room, I think he was speaking about the high cost of something, either electricity or was it food prices or something, and he said, if there is room for us to deal with it, which seemed to be suggesting that, you know, don't expect too much. Don't expect solutions. Don't expect us to make any major changes that would impact your bottom line in a way. And I looked at that as a sort of warning, whether inadvertently or deliberately, a sort of warning to the public not to expect a lot when he said that, you know. And then he made a lot of excuses too that I noticed. He blamed everybody. He blamed us for using too much electricity because we were on lockdown. When it came to vaccination, he blamed the sector representatives, the trade union council, and the opposition, and everybody else for not doing enough. It was at the tail end that he admitted that the government PR, you know, needs work, and so he blamed everybody else. And I felt that he kept passing the buck, which was very concerning for me. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the biggest, let me just say this, okay? The biggest takeaway from me from this was the prime minister finally telling us the truth about oil and gas, in my opinion, when he said if I'm an investor, I would not want to put my money in oil and gas. He has closed the door on this. He has sounded the warning. Don't expect to see anything from this. The investors it's not a good investment. He said today, Grenada's oil and gas is not a good investment. And of course, he went on to support it with the whole fossil fuel is bad and all the issues around climate change that relate to fuel and energy and so on. But what I heard in that was oil exploration is a bad investment and we should not expect a lot on this.
Right. On the open bat, Brenda started the conversation and speaking about concession plans, and that has been a question that came up a lot recently, asking about the Prime Minister and if he were to leave office today, tomorrow, next week, next year, 2 years from now, who would be the person that would emerge as the leader of the party? How do you think the Prime Minister handled that question when posed to him by Brenda? Joel?
Well, I actually listened to that aspect of the discussion and I was very excited when that question was asked, right? I was expecting the Prime Minister to say that, he has been mentoring 2 or 3 persons that he think is quite capable and ready to take over the reign of leadership. And I was hoping that he would have actually sort of named those persons. But I mean, again, he actually danced around the question, pointing to the young Senator Judd Cadet and Katisha, I mean, who we know will never get to the point of actually taking over the reign of leadership. So again, that question was not really asked. Placed in a young person in the Senate, it was basically.
Hold on, Joel. Sorry, let me correct myself there. I said concession, it's succession. Sorry. Go right ahead.
Right. If you actually looked at it, I mean, I saw it as a political move, having these young people in the Senate to really appeal to the youth voters that the government is really taking a stand in terms of engaging young people in the political or the governance structure for our country. But I mean, in terms of from a party standpoint and even from a governance standpoint, the Prime Minister himself stated before that he have not seen anyone to pass over the reign of power. That was from his words. That's the reason he continued. Even though he said that was his last term, he did not find someone that was ready to take over the reign of leadership of the party. So he making this comment today is very contradicted. So, I mean, again, as I said, Junior, there was no level of openness and honesty coming from the Prime Minister. There was a lot of contradiction. There was just a lot of his personal opinion, how he feels. It was a lot of blaming. And we were looking to hear some really forward-thinking, decisive, firm actions as to how to address some of the issues. Because these issues were pointed very clear. Issue of electricity, we wanted to hear government policy response. On the issue of high cost of living, we wanted to hear what the government was prepared to do to address that issue. And that is what we were looking forward to. But that did not come out from the discussion. It was just a lot of dancing around. It was a lot of, just just about fun and games. It was nothing serious, and the business of the people right now is serious. I mean, a lot of people are hurting. It's a very difficult time, and to just have the Prime Minister on that media press conference just laughing and joking around and fooling around and just poking holes, and I mean, it was really sad, Junior. The fact is, the government has done nothing. The NMP administration has done nothing in terms of creating succession planning. Because if they did, the Prime Minister himself would have felt confident to pass on the baton and not contest the next general election. And that's my clear position.
Right. Let me say this really quickly, because I realize that some folks are saying in the chat about the panel that we have on here, and it's a Bash NNP Fet. And let me just make it very clear that in every single episode that we do, we try as best as possible to get a very even panel. But sometimes it's very difficult, and I'll say it right now, it's very difficult. And I've tried to have someone, is either they don't want to come on right along, they don't want to speak, but I have no problem in having anyone to sit on the panel to speak about the agenda items or their reaction to it. But we did make calls, and a number of people turned us down. It's not that we didn't make the call, we were turned down by a number of people. I also must say that tomorrow we have the Minister of Tourism Minister Clarice Modest Cohen, who's going to be live with us, and we're going to have an extended hour, probably hour and a half conversation with her to speak on all of these things. All right, so guys, and if you want to chime in, if anyone that's watching, you want to chime in, you have a point to make on this matter, I'll put up the numbers right there on the screen. You could call in right now and tell us your view on it. Today we have Calistra, Joel, and Dwight. They are going to give their point of views on what their reaction is, but it's an open conversation to everyone. All right.
But Junior, if you don't mind, let me just chime in here on the views expressed by some of your viewers about a bash NNP panel. You see, this is the reason why we have so much to complain about in the country, because we do not criticize where criticism is necessary. The people who support the ruling administration, you are doing your party a favor. You are doing your party a favor by calling them to account. It will help their reputation in the long run. The fact of the matter is they came into power to fulfill a certain set of mandates. They came to govern and to manage things well. And so no one is saying that they've never done anything right. As I said in my program recently, it would be difficult to be in power for 30-something years and not get something right, you know? But I think it's unfair to everybody to say, no, I am on here as a journalist. I speak truth to power no matter where it falls. But in the instances where one side, you know, recently the NDC supporters in Grenada were calling me an NNP operative. No, the NNP has used physical violence against me. They've used slander against me and all kinds of things. But because I was fair in something I said or on my program, I became an NNP operative to the NDC. And so people just are very thin-skinned when it comes to throwing a balanced, critical eye on what is happening. And let's face it, we are not discussing NNP's business, and we're not discussing Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell's business. We are discussing our business. We are discussing the business in the name of my two sons, Archer and Dizzy, and your sons and your daughters and your grandchildren. And so we need to drop that attitude where, for two things, that you can't be critical because you're either with me or against me. And the second thing is that people who are on different sides of opinions and so cannot come together for the good of the country when it is necessary. We are retarding the development of our nation with those attitudes. It's very backward, actually.
Yeah, I agree. And as much as possible, I'll say it again, that we try to be as open air to as much persons to come on the program, no matter which political affiliation we had from every single political organization here. I open the policy. And so the person who feel that way, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but it's simply not that way. All right. So look the other way. And I'm not just telling you because I want to distract you. The truth and the fact is we want to talk about nation building. All right. So let's get back to the discussion. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, apologies. I dropped out a few minutes ago. I come back. Well, let me just make this point, and I'm actually reading some of the comments. Let me make this point. And I can speak for Calistra because Calistra has been one of the persons I've been observing over the years in media in Grenada, dating back to that time in 2011 or 12 when we were both at the Cuban embassy for a function. And I had a conversation with her then. One of the things I can say is that we know when it is to inject our personal opinions and beliefs, and we know when it's time to be professional. And at this junction, we do not see NNP or NDC. We see Grenada, Carriacou, and PPMAT. And we are asked to, at this time, to react to an interview that was done by the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, and PPMAT. When it was Decon's time, we were judgmental as well as some of the things that he would have said. And I think that we have been fair and we have been balanced. I know when to be professional, and I know when to separate my personal and my professional opinion. I am a journalist. I have been so for more than 10 years. And so I understand that there are persons who would appeal from my own personal conversation or my own personal utterances that I may have taken aside. That may be so, and I think that we all have taken a side at some point or the other. But at the end of the day, that should not, and I want to make this statement very boldly, affect our ability to do our job. And as I was saying to someone earlier this afternoon, I personally believe one of the mistakes of the NDC administration between 2008 and 13 is that they met a highly infused NNP public service. And this statement is made by Dwight Sampson. It doesn't represent the views of Ridealong. I am saying that. And that would have affected their ability to deliver, would have affected their ability to do a lot of things that the government would have probably set out to do. At the end of the day, Dr. Dwight Honorable Keith Mitchell has been our Prime Minister, and he's the only Prime Minister I remember. I am almost 35, and he's the only Prime Minister I remember. I don't remember George Brisson. Well, oh gosh, Brathwaite was, and probably Calistra. Remember, I don't remember them. I don't remember an address they gave. I don't remember what was their favorite statement. I don't know them, but I've known Dr. Mitchell all of my life. I can tell you every favorite slogan the man has said over the years. Tremendous benefit,
including
the brief,
right? You remember that one too?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I do not want a situation where I'm raising children. My first child will be 13 years old in April. I don't want a situation where my children spend most of their teenage life knowing one prime minister.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, how is this beneficial for democracy? How is this beneficial for the development of our island? How is this the beneficial for the further development of our country? Look around the world, Grenadians. The countries where you see a predominant leader for so long, for more than 10 years, are countries that have a significantly low poverty.
Yeah, but
high rates of poverty is what I'm trying to say.
Samson, the truth and the fact is, the people in the country duly elected the prime minister. He has a very strong support amongst the NNP. So they would say, if you don't break, why fix it? If the man is, if Dr. Keith Mitchell is leading the country and he's very popular among his his followers, the country, the NNP, why would they want to change him? He's going to continue to win.
And that might rightfully be so. And of course, we have a democracy where people elect persons to the office. But look at it, Junior. And I want us to get back to the conversation, but I want to make this point. Look at it. Look at what has happened to Nazim Burke. Look at what has happened to other politicians that would have shown their faces over the past 20 or so years. They have been so badly maligned that if they say anything in the public now, it has little to no significance whatsoever.
Right.
In the 2013 general election, they labeled Nazim Burke as having how many houses? I don't know when it became a crime to have more than one house, or more than one vehicle, as a matter of fact, or more than one of anything.
Right.
But we have to understand that a lot of the times when Grenadians vote, and I'm a Grenadian, maybe living in the diaspora, but trust me, I know a lot is going on home, and at some point I want to come home, and I have family and friends at home.
Right.
Grenadians may vote NNP, but Grenadians more so vote for the Imani jobs, the road work, and almost every single utterance that the Prime Minister has made in the last year. Every single national address, every single press conference, road work.
Stick up in there real quick. Dwight, we got a call on the line. We just take that call and we come back to you. Caller, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from United Kingdom. I'm a born Grenadian, Grenada to the bone. I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed at the NNP administration. I love NNP so much, and it hurt me to see Keith Mitchell just making himself go down the drain. I think I go with style. Understand? I really appreciate that man when he now start off in politics, but no, he's an embarrassment.
What exactly are you embarrassed about?
The speech, like he talks like a child. He don't have no sense now. He get senile. Like, I don't know. I just shame. I am embarrassed as a Grenadian.
Okay.
And thank you. That's my contribution tonight.
All right, caller. All right. Joel, Yeah, go ahead, Sampson and Joel. You could go ahead after.
Yeah, I was finally making the point that in every significant conversation the Prime Minister have had during this year, and I know Joel could probably back me up on this, you always hear the debushing program, you always hear the Imani program. Those are the two single most things that the Prime Minister speak about almost every single conversation he has. And the reason why, because they understand that if you remove these two programs, and we see it in 2018 and 2030, and the Prime Minister alluded to it tonight, you remove the Imani program, or in some way that you as children will say, afraid with the devotion program, you guarantee to lose the next election. And I want my people to become more than that,
Right.
more than working in the hot sun, or more than being paid a salary to be a hand sanitizer. We have to have value. You understand what I'm saying, Junior?
Okay.
So I just really think that Grenadians have to see the bigger picture. And I know that, and as the Prime Minister says, the next election is going to be a very important election in the history of Grenada. And
Yeah.
I'm patiently waiting to see what the outcome of that election will be.
Joel.
Yeah, so Junior, one of the observation I made from the press, the media press conference, and that has been my position over the years, is that the NMP has been very strong in terms of putting forward a strategy in winning the election, but in terms of really governing and transforming and developing the country, it is quite evident that there is no clear plan. And when the question was asked about the Prime Minister's legacy, he spoke about service. He spoke about being approachable and being loved. I mean, he could not have pointed to any major development project, development of the people, anything of substance. It was about approachable love and service. And that in itself speaks volumes, right? As it relates to we being having the discussion and being critical of the government, I think at this given time, every citizen should be critical about the government. We don't have an opposition. We
Indeed.
don't have an opposition. Our democracy is really threatened. And if we are to have a better approach to developing our country, we as the citizen must hold the government accountable. We are affected by the high cost of electricity. It does not affect me. It does not affect the NDC supporters. It affects the entire country. The issue
Right.
of unemployment, right? I mean, if you look at the blueprint of this administration, it has been tourism, construction, debushing, Imani, the blueprint. And COVID came, struck down on tourism, impacted SGU in a sense, and our economy fell flat on its face. And the
Joel,
government,
jump in right there. Let's jump to the phone lines real quick. We got a call coming from long distance. Caller, you live? Are you hearing us?
Yes, I'm live and I'm hearing you.
Go ahead,
Hearing
caller.
you, Junior.
Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Grenada. The only reason I don't normally call programs of this magnitude, but as a young person in Grenada, been watching the political spectrum for quite a long time, from since 2003. I am personally disappointed with the development of our country as it stands from since 2004 to now, and even more so the youth. Personally, I might be a forward-thinking youth, and I may be able to get myself out in a situation of maybe, let's say, quote unquote, a hard time. But my issue is, how can the youth realize that we're in a crisis of our own selves and be able to work around that? How can we work together as young people to help our communities jump on the next level? And kind of cut off the partisan politics kind of matter, but I have fundamentally realized that politics is the new part of Grenada structure.
Right.
And the Prime Minister's speech this evening gave me a sense of, there is nothing going on much. And you could see personally he's kind of tired and fed up of even taking charge. And he don't know how to really say it. I'm ready to let somebody take that responsibility. And that is how I am feeling right now as a young person here in this country.
Okay. All right. Were there any part of the speech today that you felt was good, or that you felt was informative, that you could have grabbed onto, or that was informative to you and young people, you believe?
Okay, so the fact that he spoke about, let's say, things of concessions and loans for small businesses, I've been hearing the Prime Minister time and time again. I mean, I must say, including Mike, here, I've even asked the Prime Minister that question along the lines of, okay, Prime Minister, how can you help young people who may want to bring in certain things in the country, let's say technological items, to, move that industry? And he said, okay, just go and take a loan. Personally, taking a loan at this time when you literally do not have no asset, no backing, how are you going to make it? You understand? Are you going to now spend another 10, 20 years of your life worrying about something on the back of your head? You understand? The problem is right now, how I'm looking at it is, we can make the lives of young people much better, but I think personally the government of Grenada don't want to, because they need to keep us trapped. So my thing, I really thought I would have gotten a little bit much hope from the fact that what are we going to do with the GDB loans and so forth and so on, when I realized that the persons who would apply for these things,
Mm-hmm.
and several calls would be made to them, and they would be like giving them the runaround, a normal runaround. That is why I have never applied to these things. That's why I never really did anything, because I know that there are young people who would come to me personally and say, you know what, listen, I am going through hell with this thing, and you have to keep on giving them the assurance that the government is there to help them. But absolutely, I personally feel that they're not.
Right. Okay, caller. Thank you for calling. Thank you, Grenada. Guys, we're having this conversation here. We want you guys to be a part of it, right? This is an open conversation. We have a panelist here, but this is all about you, because you have your opinion as well. You had your reaction as well. I'm sure that there's people that watched it and they got some passionate information from what was given here today. We want to hear from you as well. So give us a call. If you can't call us directly, I want you to call us on the WhatsApp 718-701-5720. I see Calistra camera went off, but I wanted to move a little bit further when the Prime Minister spoke about the next election, right? And I don't know if he telegraphed information that, no, I ain't seen your camera, Calistra.
Oh, well, I'm on the screen.
Press the camera and press it again. Like tick it on and turn it off, so it might switch on and switch off. But I wanna speak about the Prime Minister mentioned about election, but in a way it seemed like he was telegraphing a message here, because the next election is constitutionally due in 2023, right? But he's saying that it's quite unlikely that it would go all over there. So it kind of giving an indication that it's quite possible that election could be next year. What's your take on that part of the conversation, Calistra? Even if you're at audio only, we can still hear you.
Well, he as usual, he didn't say much, but he said it loud. Still with the election, he didn't give any specific indication as to what he's thinking about that. Either way, there's a year left, just about a year and something left on his constitutionally due time. And we talked about the June or July, which is the going into the 30 days. So the only thing he has said for sure is that he will not use that extra 30 days that the Constitution allows after the constitutionally due date has arrived. But I didn't get much. I mean, we have to have elections, so I didn't really get much from it as an indication of what he's thinking.
Yeah,
but
indeed.
I believe that I don't think he will go into 2023. Allowing the NDC to become much stronger is not a chance I think he's willing to take. I think that what has happened with the NDC over the last few weeks is certainly something that the NNP is watching, and they understand that it's not going to be an easy walk over as it has been in the last two election cycles. And so I think he's going to be watching the clock as the NDC remakes themselves and actually becomes a more viable option at the polls.
Yeah. Sampson, did you get a feeling that he sort of telegraphing some information there? Because listen, the prime minister, no prime minister wants the opponent to be very prepared. So he wants to catch them at a point in time when they're least prepared, right? Do you think that he was kind of telegraphing some information right there? Because I get the sense that it could be sometime next year.
I don't, as Farrier was saying, I don't think the prime minister was saying. He said, but he wasn't saying. But what I want to allude to is what the climate in the Caribbean is now as it relates to the election. None of the prime ministers that went into the pandemic with any amount of allotted time constitutionally before an election lived out the constitutional time. They would have called the election in successive order. I think so far the only prime minister that has been re-elected is that of Keith Rowley of Trinidad. The Bahamas has had a change of government. St. Lucia has a change of government. Dominica is coming up pretty soon. St. Vincent's also coming up. I think the prime minister is not going to go down the wire with this election, primarily because the NDC outfit is really under the mechanic wheel now, and they are putting structures in place. And as they put those structures in place, they are going to become a very stronger party, and they are going to be more of a force. I think the prime minister would more than likely try to catch them when they're not so strong, in as to see how much he can garner. Because I mean, I know Calistra had a conversation with Peter Wickham and so on, and I hear him, but having worked on the ground in elections, successful elections before, I can tell you that Grenadians generally are undecisive voters population until the very last minute, and then they make up their mind sometimes on the very morning of the election. It could assume and then go out and cast their ballot. But another point I want to make, unrelated point I want to make, is that and going back to the issue of succession that Greenidge would have brought up. If we look at the history in Grenada, you look at the NDC when Brizan left the NDC, went into retirement. The NDC struggled for a great amount of years until Tillman Thomas in 2003, when they would have garnered some seats in the parliament. You look at the Grenada United Labour Party, well, they're defunct. May not be. You look at the revolution. You look at all of these political entities that would have rise among the weeds over the years, and most of them they're no longer there. The NDC has stood the test of time, and I think that the prime minister is looking at that in terms of his own legacy. The NNP itself, the party, is a legacy of Keith Mitchell. And if he was to step aside today or tomorrow, can that person garner the same level of support that he had or has, and would have continued the party into victory over another 2 or 3 terms? That's a question. I think the prime minister is seriously looking at that,
Right.
because traditionally and historically, that has not been the case.
Right. Again, guys, we're opening up the phone lines to get your views on it. 718-701-5720. Whether you're for or against, we want to get your point of view. Call in right now. You could call in live on the direct phone line, or you could call in on WhatsApp. The number again, 718-701-5720. Joel, your point. Oh, go ahead, Calistra.
No, I just wanted to say on the point that Dwight was making about succession and the survival of a political party after a leader who has been seen as the party for a long time departs the stage for one reason or the other. And I think that NNP's survival is about the next leader who comes on who can change the direction of the party. I don't think that NNP will survive into the future with the same way that they have operated, this conspiracy of poverty that this party has developed to keep control of the population. I don't think that Grenadians are going to continue to have much patience with that style. I'm sensing the restlessness. I'm sensing that people have had enough. And while you have those holdouts who are bitter and angry at everybody who dares to say it's not working for the country and for the people of the nation, I think that there's this growing restlessness across the board with the state of things, and at every level, whether it's in business or just the working class and so on, everyone has been affected and impacted, not in a good way a lot of times, by the way that the NNP administration has done business. And I think that the leader who comes forward, who can change that, who can move the party onto a different path, a better path, this is how the success and longevity of the NNP will be sustained. Not just a leader who is going to continue with the playbook, be popular. Our prime minister, people like him. He smiles and he dances. He's full of vibes. As I say about my 7-year-old kid, he's full of vibes, and people like that. But being full of vibes goes so far, and and I think that people are looking for more substance. And if that comes, the party can survive. If it's Mitchell 2.0, I think that is going to be a problem for the future of the party. I don't think the young people are willing to continue with that same kind of oppressive leadership.
Joel, I want you to chime in here, right? But also look at the fact that what a new leader of the NDC might look like. Do you think that it might be an elder statesman?
NNP,
Sorry?
I think you said the NDC, the NNP.
NNP, sorry, the NNP. A future leader might look like. I know he mentioned the Minister of Education. He mentioned Kate, a few new heads in there. Do you think that it would be the elder statesman, or you think that they're looking at this younger leader that would emerge? What's your take on that, Joel? If you have any opinion on it. I know you're not clairvoyantly, you can't predict what it might be.
Yeah, but the thing about it, it's really hard, Junior, to really imagine the NNP without Dr. Mitchell. It's the same way years ago when I spoke to some of my grandparents and people of that previous generation. It was hard to imagine the GLP without Gary, right? And don't matter who emerged thereafter, even if they had a new approach, a different approach, don't matter if they did all the necessary work to really reestablish a different position in the minds of the people, then all they saw was Gary. Yeah. And once he exited, that party in itself become, necessary, null and void. In relation to the NMP, it's really hard, Junior. I think if a new leader emerged within the NMP to really gain the support of the people, or continue to gain the support of the people, it would be a very uphill task. And I don't see anyone currently within the NMP that I think can really continue that legacy of control and having a strong hold on the NMP supporters the way Dr. Mitchell would have actually done it.
So are you guys saying Dr. Keith Mitchell is tied to the NNP as how Gary was tied to the GLP, and without that person, the party is like null and void?
Yeah, I believe eventually NMP will die a natural death. That's once Dr. Mitchell exits. And the fact that a good job was not done with succession planning. If you look of the approach, how the NMP has actually functioned, it has been a one-man show. One-man show. There has been no democracy. And it's quite evident. So what happens when dictators die? I mean, if you look historically, you see what happens.
But the Prime Minister said, like in a rebuttal to that question, where he said that it's not only him to run the country. You have the education minister, you have the Ministry of Health, you have all these people who are actually working the field as well. He sort of said that there are people in the mix that could emerge as leaders.
But Junior, there have been no independence of thought with the ministers of government, or even members of the cabinet, or even the members of the party. They say what the Prime Minister says. They say what Dr. Mitchell says. You understand? And that has been a problem, because if they had held the prime minister to a higher standard, his cabinet members, or even the member of his party, we would have had a better prime minister. We would have had a better country. And we would not have been having this conversation right now. But the NMP supporters, for example, they have held Dr. Mitchell to a very low standard. Matter of fact, they were applauding what happened tonight. I mean, the comedy show, they were applauding this, especially at this critical time in our country, with some of them who are NMP supporters are even hurting. Some of them having to choose between paying their high utility bill and having to buy medication. And they're coming on social media tonight, still defending that there was no hope, no substance, nothing different, nothing new.
Yeah.
As a young person, it's frustrating, because so many young people today, brilliant, creative, innovative. As a young man spoke a while ago when he spoke about the GDP situation, I know of a friend who wanted to start a poultry project. He studied an innovative way of feeding the poultry, opposed to using the feed from the agro industry that is so expensive. He went and studied an innovative way, came back. He had to pay off a loan that his mom was using to get hold of the land paper. Went to GDP. They still wanted his lung, his kidney, just for the same loan. So what the prime minister came and said tonight is not true. Many young people have tried to access that loan, and it's tied to so many things. It's so stringent that some of these young people could not have even accessed it, and a lot of brilliant ideas that could have turned out to provide jobs and help to develop new sectors of the economy was denied. So it's all games, it's all election gimmicks. And I think the prime minister and his cabinet and his government should stop playing games with the Grenadian people, especially at a time like now. People are extremely frustrated. People are on the edge. And it's a time that you don't want to play with the emotions of the people. I mean, the whole issue of the oil and gas, for example, Dr. Mitchell since he stood on that platform tonight to make that announcement a day before election, he knew that no oil and gas was going to be drilled. He knew that. He knew that was all election gimmicks. At the end of the day, it gave him a competitive edge in the election, and he won on that basis. People were looking for cheaper electricity, so now they've seen the electricity bill high, and next election is approaching very soon. You think they will have confidence and trust in him? Young people are woke. I can tell you that young people are woke.
Junior, I want to make a statement. And I wanted to go back to what Greenidge was saying. If you listen, and as I said, I know how to be impartial. If you listen to the ministers of government, any one of them, you listen to them speak, you will always hear them say the prime minister said. The prime minister said this, the prime minister said that, the prime minister said the other. It is never, I told the prime minister, or I have advised the prime minister. And as the minister, I am saying, you don't hear that level of autonomy coming out in anything that they say. They always,
it's like in any business organization, it's good to speak with a unified voice.
But that's not a unified voice, Junior. If you're saying what the prime minister is saying, in essence, you're saying that I don't have an opinion. And I'm not saying, I want to believe that the prime minister would have appointed people to different ministries based on skill sets and assets that they can bring to that ministry, and not just appoint people and put them places because, well, they win their seats so they give them a walk. The fact of the matter is, if you hear them, and I have had encounters with most of them, if you hear them speak, they have an independent opinion. They have things that they say that of value. But when they get onto a podium or they get into any public space, somehow that is shelved. Moving along, one of the things that and Farrier was alluding to it, that the NNP is just really full of vibes and charisma. One of the things that I think is an uphill task for Deacon Mitchell is that Grenadians traditionally do not trust NDC. And let us be real, they don't trust the NDC for a lot of reasons. In 2008, when the NDC would have won, and the Prime Minister alluded to it tonight, they promised that they were not going to fire any man. 2 months later, the whole of the man staff was sent home. They made a lot of promises, accountability, transparency, etc., and a whole bunch of things. Right? They don't. And I think one of the challenge for Mitchell Jr., the young Mitchell, now is to rebuild the Grenadian trust in the past. Even if they win the election or they lose the election, NDC needs to rebuild the trust. But another thing that is very important for them is that the promises that you make on the campaign trail, the promises that you made to the Grenadian people, that you have to fulfill these promises as best as possible. We do not so much care about the pie in the sky ideas. Grenada is a society that they vote based on the bread and butter issues. Can I
Yeah.
provide for my family? Can I send my children to school? Can I mean we have we may have changed and advanced in terms of ICT and other technology, but in terms of who we are as a people, that has never changed. Grenadian mothers are more concerned about their children getting an education or having access to education. Grenadian fathers are hardworking men who go out there and toil the soil, labor in the hot sun, do whatever it is they have to do. Um, Hours on the ocean um, body to provide for their family. So at the end of the day, it boils down to the bread and butter issues. And going into the next election, I think that is what it's going to be, because we have when you listen to the concerns about gas price and the electricity, they are bread and butter issues.
Yeah.
Because the more money you have to put out to Grenlec and put out to the gas station, is less money you have to put food in your children's mouth. Because at the end of the day, um, you still have your family to feed, but you if you it comes down to the point where you're worried about feeding them
Right.
or keeping the lights on so that they can go do the online classes and every other thing. So those are fundamental, and I want to use the Prime Minister's word here, fundamental issues for the Grenadian population.
But
But
you mentioned something there, Dwight. You mentioned something there, Dwight, and I want to kind of toss it around a bit, right? Because the interesting thing, you said one of the things, one of the problems, one of the issues you find that NDC faces at this point in time, some might say that one of the major challenges that they have to be very careful about, and Calistra, I want you to jump in there because you're on the ground there as well, is managing expectation and
yep,
not over promising, because it's very difficult for the next administration, whoever that administration is to come in next. It's going to be difficult if by the first year, 6 months or so, people will see they better off
they
than wait.
write you off.
No matter who comes back in there, it could be Deacon Mitchell 2.0, Deacon Mitchell 3.0, the best of Deacon Mitchell. People want to see you change thing around. So how do you think that's one of the main issues, or one might be one of the main problems faced by the whoever administration that comes in next, Calistra?
Well, the resources that we have are the resources that we have. And on the campaign trail, it's a lot of false advertising. People make promises that they know that they can't keep. And that becomes a problem, because then you can't deliver it during the term, and then you make it about the people and the opposition, and everybody's on your case, and it's simply because you offered things that you knew you couldn't deliver, and you offered it because you wanted to win. um
Right.
so, and I think that the point that they were making about GDP, right? The small business development drives an economy, and this is where it has to be. This has to be the new frontier there, and technology. Um, any government that comes in, whether Mitchell, the NNP administration, sorry, continues on the same path they're on, and don't do more to drive small business development, to support the ones that exist, and to aid new ones into life, we're going to continue to have that problem. And of course, small business in any kind of sector. Now, GDP is giving a lot of loans to barber shops and hairdressing salons, but nobody has work to go to them anyhow, and to get their hair done as often as it would take for a hairdresser to really survive well.
Have a turnover, yeah.
So we've got to look at the areas beyond building the big hotels, and so on. And and the promise of oil and all those kinds of crazy things, and look at the organic Grenada and figure out how we're growing the small business sector, because that is what is going to drive the economy. There are a lot of ideas, and so on, but it's so the small business faces all these challenges, and challenges that the government can fix in the way they set up concessions and so on. There are more concessions and sweetheart deals for large investors who are coming with money, who you're supposed to want to, they're going to come anyhow to put a lot of money into the economy. And they get concessions and deals, and we're paving the way for them.
Yeah.
But the small businessman here can't get $500,000 to float his business. You're telling him he's going to have to get $5,000. Well, let me tell you, $5,000 is not even going to help my 10-year-old who is now trying to develop a game to get anywhere with that, right?
Sure.
So it's about any government that comes in has to want to break that cycle, that conspiracy of poverty, and we are not where we are by chance, Julie. I don't believe that we are where we are right now by chance. This was orchestrated. This is a strategy. This is a model that was developed. And I saw it happening from the time, I don't know if you remember a lady called Joan Webley. We got the tribalistic style politics, and we got the conspiracy of poverty. That's the legacy of Dr. Mitchell, right? That's the legacy. Tribal politics and a conspiracy. Keep talking. You know, I tonight in news conference, when he did his opening statement, debushing was one of the earliest things he talked about.
Exactly.
And I said to myself, that that is
the legacy.
That's not even helpful to the environment. Let's not even get into the economic waste of time. It's not even good for the environment. They're causing a lot of erosion on the side of the road, on the banks of the road, all over the place. So it's not even helpful. And he keeps mentioning that. And as a leader, I would be a bit embarrassed to keep mentioning debushing as my flagship economic program. All right? It's not, and so the next government has to put their money where their mouth is. I know NDC talks a lot about a different style of development and people-driven development. But when they get in there, are we going to be dealing with the same officers in GDB who don't want to see a small man get ahead anyhow with a great project? So because you also have that problem. You've also got public servants and people in offices all over the place who are getting in the way of real things getting done in the country. That is another problem. That you show up with a good project and they're not going to, if their doors to be open, they won't open the door to you. In fact, they'll be busy trying to give you a project to some partner of theirs who already has $20 million sitting in the bank. So we have that issue as well. There are a lot of little things that need to be fixed so that people can really do proper business in Grenada. This is small business development. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. The next pandemic hits and we got a lockdown again, and people are waiting on vouchers and food baskets to survive, and that is disgraceful. I hear they talking about vouchers again.
Yeah. Oh, they spoke about, again, guys, this is a conversation. I want you guys involved. One of the things that was spoken about is the budget that would be read, I think, on this weekend, this Friday, not this weekend, this Friday, this coming Friday. And he kind of exposed some of the information that would be spoken about. One in particular, the concession on fuel prices, where they would be issuing some subsidies. How much would that alleviate? How much stress would that alleviate from the people backs of Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martin? Joel, you're on the ground.
Well, basically, that would be welcoming news, and I think it will be a positive step in the right direction. I mean, we may see the cost of some of the prices go down because you remember trucking services, when they pick the goods up, they have to take it and take it to their business places and also go out into the field to supply. So if there's a decrease in the cost of fuel, I mean, we might be able to see a decrease in the prices of some goods and services. So that in itself might be a positive. To what extent the government is going to do it, I don't know. I cannot say what extent they're going to do it because the government is talking about revenue, right? And having to see how much revenue they will actually give up. So it will be good news. I will welcome it as a good policy response to the high cost of fuel, because at a time like now, I mean, the fuel cost is eating away people's disposable income. And if someone could save at least $200 or $300 from the subsidy that the government is going to provide, then that $300 can now go towards doing something meaningful for that family. So that would be welcome news. So I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to the budget presentation.
Yeah, Calistra, welcome back. I see you now, but you kind of lopsided a bit. Your camera is kind of this way a bit, so you might just have to flip it this way, and you'll be.
Let's see what's
You see,
happening
you
here.
see how you see yourself. That's how I'm seeing you.
I was actually going to try
Yeah,
to message you.
guys, we open up the phone line. Oh, okay, it's back now. It's back now. It's back now. We're seeing you now. You look nice, by the way, Calistra. Like the new look. I guess you
Pardon?
didn't hear that.
No, I missed what you said.
That's I like the new look. You're looking pretty. Yeah, I see you're looking pretty dashy. It's what, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock in Grenada. You're looking as if bright day outside.
Oh.
Hey guys, we're taking your calls on comment on the press conference that we just saw earlier today, where the Prime Minister met 4 of the media colleagues. He took questions from them and spoke on a range of different issues. Calistra, you've been in that room before. You sat there before, right? And some people said that some of the questions, especially some of the questions that was tossed by some of our colleagues in the media, was kind of like softball questions. Someone mentioned me during the broadcast, and they say, well, Andre in particular, it seemed like he was giving the Prime Minister an opening to just speak his legacy. Do you think that the practitioners really set the tone for the engagement, or do you think that the Prime Minister would set the tone? Who set the tone when you're sitting in that room there?
I mean, listening to it, you would think that the tone was collectively set prior to the interview. But knowing media people, I think they just volunteered to follow the leader without being asked to. I felt that, and actually called someone who, another media person, while this was going on, and said, you know, do they have to phrase the questions in that manner? You know, Joseph Kador, you know, gave a good account. Some of the questions he asked and the manner in which he asked them, I could tell that there was an effort there to try to do justice to the occasion of interviewing the leader of the country. But the first question that was asked, I believe it was Ms. Batiste was the first one at that, or we keep using his cricket analogies. And she asked about the age thing. Now, I would have asked that question differently had it been me, and I certainly would not have asked that as the first question. Anyhow, I think it was an opportunity. It was an attempt to give the Prime Minister an opportunity to sell himself and to do PR on the undeniable fact that he is an elderly person, in contrast to Dickon Mitchell. Now, you see, the Prime Minister's age doesn't matter. How old you are doesn't matter. Unless you have Alzheimer's, then we've got a problem. You can't run the country because you might sell Granny Tagley to somebody without realizing it, right? But so age doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how young you are. And the Prime Minister made that point. It doesn't matter how young or how old you are. It's what you bring to the table. But then he went on, oh, I exercise and I do this and I do that. And I saw it as a PR stunt. And I wondered whether or not the question was not asked to do just that, particularly in the manner in which it was asked, because it wasn't asked in contrast to the conversation that's taking place right now, but the NDC's new leader, who some people are quite, I don't want to say in a very ridiculous manner, because I don't want to be branded as anti or whatever. The last time I was branded as anti, I got pushed and shoved and all kinds of crazy things happened. But there's this conversation now about Deacon's experience and Deacon's age, which I don't think makes a lot of sense really on the age thing. We've got to test him. And the NDC people get upset because we're grilling him a lot, but that's a good thing because it's the first time in the ring, and he needs that. This is how we're going to avoid another Dr. Mitchell, by keeping the pressure up, right? So I'm straying a little bit. So I thought that that question should have been asked differently, and it was so funny that somebody said, here comes something about beauty pageant questions, Miss Congeniality 2021, and that indicated how people viewed the questions. Then someone messaged me and said, and pointed out 3 of the members of the panel and said, you see the NNP line of questioning or something like that. So there were reactions to what people felt was a sort of accommodation between the Prime Minister and the people who were in the room. And most of the people who were in the room asking him questions at the time, I think that we should not be afraid to ask the Prime Minister questions. You might be surprised, the last news conference that I went to with the Prime Minister, the one that I wasn't supposed to be at though, that I got to. After the news conference, the Prime Minister and I were chatting and having a discussion, and you know, it was very cordial, and I saved the smiles and the laughing, and so for after the news conference, you know, the Prime Minister and I, when we meet face to face, we speak and we engage normally. So, but when you're in the news conference, it's a different thing because you're there to fulfill a purpose, and the purpose is not to accommodate or to pander to whoever is sitting in front of you. It's to ask the questions that fulfills the people's right to know.
Yeah, absolutely, guys, and this is the opportunity. I wanna say this. I mean, as much as we from time to time discuss politics and we discuss, people might have their different views. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing, right? Whether you're NNP, NDC, GOLP, whatever. I believe everybody loves Grenada same way. They have different ideas in who they want to support, but I don't second guess anyone love for country because they support a particular political organization. So let's get that straight, okay? Let's jump to the phone. We got a call online. Caller, you live? Where are you calling us from?
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Go right ahead, caller. You live.
Yes, good night. Good night. Good night. Good night to panel. Yes, I'm here to just give my little contribution. And first off, I must say that it would be that is would be very popular with the listeners and even the politicians. But I'm here to say tonight that Grenada, we are in deep trouble, right? And most people, you know, because we know that, okay, we think that we know it all, we have it all, and we could do it all. But I'm here to say that it doesn't matter who takes power right now, as long as they are not inclined to the Almighty God. And this is what God is saying to us as a nation. God is saying to us as a nation that we have turned our back on Him because we are grateful to Him. And we know that God is the creator. The earth belongs to Him. Creator belongs to Him. The people belongs to Him. Right? And we've been doing things for years and years and years and years. Grenada is the first step. We have a lot of resources. Plenty of things. At least 3 resources to me, which we can use to build our nation and to bring it back to the place that it once was. You know what's the problem? It's the system. And people who are not spiritually inclined would know much about that. And this is why we are going to have battle with the 2 parties. And for the longest while, if we take a look at it, it's a church. So NDC trying to get it.
All right, caller lost connection there. 718-701-5720. That's my number. Joel, you wanted to come in?
No. I mean, I'm really enjoying the conversation. I think some very good ideas have been put on the table by the panel. I mean, the divide in this country is real, Junior, right? We cannot escape that. But one of the things that I am seeing emerging lately is the fact that a lot of young people are more concerned about their current reality. And that in itself is positive. You see globalization, you see that the technology that is available. Young people are seeing persons in different countries, developing countries, doing well, prospering, able to build a home, buy a car, and able to travel and enjoy a good life. and they're in touch with these people and they're saying, okay, how can they do it? And I am not given the opportunity to do it. So the fact is, young people are going to hold whoever shows put up themselves this time around for elections. I know that the young voters are going to hold them accountable. The bar is actually set very high. And I even listening to some of the interviews with Deacon Mitchell, and the fact that the journalists are drilling him, it's a good thing. The fact that is that they see him at a certain level, and they understand that the bar must set higher, and they are holding him to higher expectations. And I think that's a positive for Grenada. I think the fact that many young people are really inspired by Deacon is because he points to a new direction. He points to a new vision for Grenada. And the fact that many of the young people are now involved in a leadership role in the NDC is what young people have been clamoring for years. Young people who can relate to them, young people who understand their concerns and their issues. The fact is, we must accept the fact that this current administration has become seriously disconnected from the young people. Even the fact the current prime minister, he's not in touch with the reality affecting young people. Hence the reason when was asked some very important question, he had a smoke on his face and he was kind of joking around because he does not understand, he cannot relate to the suffering and the pain that young people are faced with. The fact that you go off to study, get 1 degree, come back in poverty, go off, get a 2nd degree, and come back and you find yourself in poverty, barely able to survive. These are real issues. And the fact is, when I listened to Deacon Mitchell as a young man, and I engage the barbers and the man in agriculture, the young person in the construction industry, they had a sense of hope that Grenada is moving in a new direction based on the vision outlined by Deacon Mitchell. I want to get to a point that you made mention earlier on, Junior. Grenadians, and we may not want to give our people that credit, but when it's called to sacrifice for country, Grenadians is a people that shows that they can meet up to that standard, right? They can answer that call to service. And when we were asked to sacrifice in relation to the structural adjustment program, right, we came forward and we sacrificed. I believe this time around, if once a new administration is formed and there is a clear vision to move Grenada to a new level of development that's going to benefit all citizens. And Grenadians are called to be patient, to come together collectively, and to realize that vision, that at the end of the vision, we all will benefit. I think all people are prepared to make that sacrifice. We made that sacrifice under the structural adjustment program. We were told that we were sharing the gains. And Junior, we are still waiting to share from the gains. You understand what I'm saying? And that tends to be a major problem with this current administration. And that it may be a reason why people will want, we will remember the Last Supper, because when asked to sacrifice, we will sacrifice and gain nothing. So people will always look at what they can gain now, and it's always sometimes short-term. You understand what I'm saying? So we would need a long-term plan for Grenada, and we would need all hands on deck to move in that direction to realize that sort of vision.
I want to move closer to the conclusion of the conversation here. You were saying something, Calistra?
Oh no, I was.
No, okay.
I was coming in actually.
Right, so when coming in here, Dwight, I want you to also do a summary on the entire press conference. It's about that time I want to wrap up. I want to wrap up like about at least about 7:25, 7:30. So yeah, just make your comment and we go around for conclusions.
Okay. Yeah, flipping what I was going to speak about.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Yeah, right. You come back. No, I believe if the Prime Minister or anyone within the rank and file of the NNP wanted the same treatment that Deacon Mitchell would have received in the past few weeks, they could have called Calistra and asked for an hour and a half on the narrative, where you get to talk about legacy or get to talk about his accomplishments and stuff like that. I don't think that we should have called a national press conference or a national interview session, and begin to talk about legacy when the healthcare system is the way it is.
That's something I've been doing in series. That's the 5th edition.
Yeah, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, the point I'm making is, that we have real issues on the ground. And
Right.
I get a sense that some of the journalists sitting in the room were asking questions, as were previously alluded to by Farrier and Greenidge. They were asking questions to basically, and I think it was kind of garner the same kind of uh, reception that Deacon Mitchell would have got over the past few weeks. And I'm saying, if they wanted that, um, create their own programs and invite him on to talk about his legacy and so on and so forth. Instead of using an interview where people are looking forward to hear questions on the real issues on the ground, to do so, I think that, and I made this point the last time I did a rebuttal on this program, um, um, to a national address, that at the end of the day, people want answers to the real issues that they're facing. And those real issues have a lot to do with bread and butter, as I said earlier. We need to deal with the issues. And unless we deal with the issues, we will continue to wobble and float around and not address what needs to be addressed. Another very strong point that is coming forth in my mind is that the Prime Minister has been the Prime Minister responsible for ICT in the Eastern Caribbean, well, in OECS and as far as CARICOM. And we still have issues of ICT and ICT related problems on the island. We have a situation where students are going to school, as confusing as it is, once every week, twice every week in some instances, and they are reversing back to to laptops and tablets for the daily classroom. How many families can afford to buy a laptop or buy a tablet in this time is a question left to be answered. Proper access to the internet service. I have situations where I call family at home and I wonder what's happening. You know, all of those issues, those issues that we need to speak to and to address. But we have journalists coming along and dealing. Anyway, I in my whole rebuttal on this press conference, I will say as I open, Prime Minister needs to call election and call them very soon. Um, the NDC needs to get themselves ready if they want to be a strong opposition, form the next government. They need to get themselves ready. NNP needs to do what it needs to do in order to gain back, because I think that they have lost it in some percent to gain back the trust of the Grenadian people. And we need to get back to the business of running our country and developing our country. We need to get back to the business of addressing the many issues that we have with our healthcare system, with pensions and so on and so forth. Um, as I said, I only listened to this to the remainder and to advise and answer Miss Charles' earlier questions on the comment section that I saw. I only listened to the rest of the interview because I know I had to be on here and I didn't want to be just talking out of the sky. I wanted to be able to speak from a point of knowing.
Right.
But to be honest, if I didn't have to be, I would not have sat down and waste my almost 2 hour and a half listening to the nonsense that was going on in there. The only people to me personally that would have asked any questions of any sort of substance is Arona Neptune and the gentleman from GBN. Those are the issues that people want to hear, and those are the questions that people want answers to. And if you are a journalist, your first commitment is to provide answers to the questions that people have. Is to give them information that they know they want, and information that they don't know they want. Beverly Sinclair taught me that. Um, and so we cannot continue to soft pedal the issues. We cannot continue to treat the nation's business as if it's a joke, if it's a puppy show. Is this a trend with the Prime Minister now? He went to Parliament the other day, and Parliament is where the nation's business needs to be discussed and talking about buying people. You're coming on an interview and you sound like you're ill prepared. The point of the matter is that you are the leader of our country. I respect the Prime Minister. I've had conversations one on one with him when I was home and I was a journalist in Grenada. I had interviews with him. I had sitting interviews with him. And somehow the Prime Minister I'm seeing now and the Prime Minister about a decade ago has changed. And he said it tonight, but is that change for the better? Is that a positive change or a negative change? Ask on the ground and hear what people have to say.
Yeah. All right. Joel, your wrap up.
Well, first and foremost, all I would say is, I would thank the Prime Minister for his 37 years of service to the country, but I think the time has come for him to pack his bag and then vacate office and really make room for the young Deacon Mitchell and a more vibrant and forward-thinking NDC team to take over the reign of power and move Grenada in a new direction. So that's my closing remarks.
All right, Calistra, your wrap up, closing remarks.
I mean, there's a lot of dissatisfaction expressed with the news content and the Prime Minister talking a lot but not saying much on specifics. And what we have to understand is that news conferences are part of PR strategy. It's designed to get a particular message out there or to get a particular reaction from the public. In this case, there did not seem to be a message. There was no specific message. There was no particular message. I think that it was just a way of putting up more smoke screens, and that is what it achieved. And so some people would walk away feeling quite happy and comfortable with what they heard. But I would have asked on the state of emergency. I would have probed the Prime Minister more on the need for the continuation of it. That question was left hanging on the issue of small business development and what's happening with GDP loan facilities. I would have pressed on that, knowing a lot of the backstory about how difficult it is for things to happen in that area, and understanding the importance of small business development to drive the economy and so on. So, but like I said, people attend these news with different outcomes in mind, intentions that they are.
Right. All right. So during the conversation,
I look forward to a one-on-one with the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow we have a one-on-one with the Minister of Tourism. We're going to speaking about new protocols in place and general things that's happening in the field of tourism. We'll touch a bit on politics as well. So that's tomorrow, simply same time. But while we had this conversation, I activated a poll, and you guys responded to that poll. And the question is, were you satisfied with the press conference today? And I mean, everyone had the opportunity to respond, and that's your honest response. And the results of the poll says 14% of the viewers said that they were satisfied with the press conference today, and 86% said that they were not satisfied with the poll. 60 votes came in, 86 to 14%. And that's kind of how it went down. And I'm eager to see what the other media houses, what their polls look like, if it's consistent straight across the board. But that's what it looks like on our end, 86 to 14. Not satisfied with the press conference today. But Calistra Farrier, thank you so much. Dwight, thank you so much. And my good friend, Joel Greenidge, thank you guys so much. I know it was last minute, but we made it happen, and I really appreciate you guys coming through.
Definitely.
No problem,
Appreciate it.
I'm always here.
Yeah,
all
man,
right.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys. Your opportunity to chime in, and we're still gonna hold on a bit. If you guys want to call in, open the phone lines again. If you have anything to say, we want to make it as open as possible so you folks have an opportunity to chime in. And I'm looking for something here because I want to play it back. Yeah, I want to say that again, guys, because some person may not agree with your political stance, right? It doesn't mean that that person don't love the country. It doesn't mean that that person is an enemy. Because politics, let me tell you, politics is separating us, right? People, when election comes, neighbors don't want to speak to one another. Friends who've been friends for donkey odd years, they stop talk because this one support this party and you are this because you support. No, you have to respect people for what they believe. We cannot moderate people's emotions. We cannot moderate people's thoughts. We cannot tell people how to think. Everyone have a right to, if they love NNP, vote for the NNP, right? If you love NDC, vote for the NDC. If you love GULP, go ahead and vote for GULP. Nobody should be mad at you. That is your personal choice. All right. I see sometimes after we have this program, like tomorrow, we're gonna have a conversation with the Minister of Tourism, and people are gonna come inside there and throw all kind of trash. Right? I already see it already. We put the promo out yesterday. And, oh, Junior is gonna give her a pass because he's an NNP. So what if he's an NNP? Or if I have Deacon Mitchell on the program, or Junior is an NDC. So what if I is an NDC? So what? So what? What does that mean for you? At the end of the day, what you believe is what you believe. I cannot dictate or moderate what you believe. And it's time that we get away from this kind of petty kind of tribalism kind of mentality where we feel that we have to chastise somebody because they believe something different than you. That is not how we're supposed to live. Everybody have a right to live and love and be whatever they want to be, no matter who they support. So we need to stop that. And if it's politicians that are getting all you riled up like this, all you going on the wrong track. Because at the end of the day, when a politician and they meet up, wherever they does meet up, they're shaking hands and kissing one another. While all you're fighting against all your brothers, all you're fighting against all your best friend. Eh? All you need to stop that. In the water Congori, all you need to stop that. Seriously. And I hate when after every conversation that we have on a particular subject matter, as long as it's not aligned with what you believe, you want to chastise the next person. You want to come on here and talk crap and say, you know, okay, well, you this and you that, because I don't feel on it. So what? So what? So what? Ask yourself this question. So what? Anyway, guys, this is my rant at the end of the program here today. I think we need to get away from the tribal warfare that we try to put up against on one another. Yeah? We want to chastise one another. At the end of the day, everybody loves the country. Everybody wants to see the country move forward. People just have different ideas. People just have different approach. To go to Grenville, you could pass 5 different ways. Coming from my village, you could pass 5 different ways. I like to pass a certain way. You might like to pass a certain way. So I'll cost you because you like to pass top road and I like to pass bottom road. Or I like to pass top road and you like to pass bottom road. You pass where you want to pass. You get to the Grenville same way. So stop it, man. All you need to stop that. Seriously. All you need to stop. Last election, I was in Grenada. And I was surprised by some neighbors in my own village. I stayed in St. George for a period of time. I went to different villages and people genuinely upset. They're genuinely upset with the person that if the house burning, that next person would have thrown water on the house for them. When they don't have sugar in the house, they go by the neighbor and the neighbor give them a cup of sugar, a cup of salt, a cup of flour, whatever, to need some flour, to make some bakes or some dumpling. You could trust them to give you something to take in your body, but you can't trust them to make a decision that they want to make for their own political, whatever political agenda or affiliation. All you need to stop that. Really and truly, all you it's stupid. It is silly. It is dumb. That's what it is. It is dumb. And sometimes I just want to go and comment on it. Sometimes I just want to genuinely go under some of the comment section and just blaze some of the stupid comments I see from people. But I said, you know what? That is their opinion. But I just want to say it right here. If I love NDC, NNP, GULP, TGM, whoever I want to vote for, that is my vote. And it have nothing to do with you. You vote whoever you want to vote for. That is your decision at the end of the day. Anyway, I gotta go. Live from Studio B, guys. Don't forget, Ride Along Live is a platform where everyone have a story to tell. And don't feel afraid to express yourself in whatever way. Express yourself. I want to make this platform a platform where people could feel free, like they could express themselves. Oftentimes, I know sometimes there might be confrontation, and I mean we have moderators. We have been down a road before where the platform has been through a lot because of community standards. So we do have moderators who try to keep a certain level of conversation, but that in no way is a way to prevent anyone from expressing themselves, right? The way how we might moderate our chat is not a deterrent, or shouldn't be seen as a deterrent for you expressing yourself. We want you to express yourself, because we believe that everyone have a story to tell. We can't say everyone have a story to tell, and we don't expect people to tell their story and tell their truth at the end of the day. All right? Catch you guys tomorrow, guys. This has been a special production of Ridealong Live. I got to say this, guys. This program is brought to you by the kind compliments of, where is it? Right here. It's CBX NYC. Now, if you're looking for a flyer, event flyer, having an event, and you want a really nice flyer, professionally designed flyer, the best flyer design in New York City. And when I say the best, I endorse it. They are the best in design for flyers, brochures, logos, and so forth. So if you're having a party, a special event, give them a call right now. Save the number or email them at cbxmedia@gmail.com. That's cbxmedia@gmail.com. Remember, event flyers, professionally done event flyers, look as if you just came from Hollywood, give them a call. CBX NYC. Flyer design and a whole lot more. This program is brought to you by CBX NYC. But they service anywhere. So if you want a flyer design and you're in Grenada, you're in Jamaica, wherever you are, they could get it done to you. You could also get a rush service. So if you need something done in a rush, CBX is who you call. 347-744-5546. That's 347-774-5546. CBX NYC, powering up this edition of Ridealong Live today. Guys, catch me tomorrow. We have a lot more to discuss. Tomorrow we have the Minister of Tourism. 6 p.m. Make it a late, don't be late. See you later. Bye from Studio B, New York City. Goodbye. Good night.
Yo, I ride the road. Everything have to humble. Everything have to humble. Straight. 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 Yeah. You gotta be firm in this time, son. You gotta be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor. I will survive.